The Pathless is an independent action-adventure game developed by Giant Squid. The game was released on November the 12th, 2020 for a multitude of platforms, but most specifically, and the one we're going to be looking at today, is the PlayStation 5. So a game that takes Abzu, the previous game developed by the same team, and adds an open world combat element that frankly I have not seen before. In today's video we will take a look at my first playthrough and talk about the history, development and overall thoughts on this fantastic game. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So immediately upon starting the game, the initial thought in my mind was wow. I mean, I played Abzu and I was going under the water. I was looking at the coral, the fauna under there, and these old ancient debris left and scattered around this wasteland of an underwater abyss, if you will. But I opened this game and I was so blown away by the brilliant art style that I genuinely took a minute while I was on Twitch to just stand there and just admire it and just take pictures, because this is truly that beautiful. Now don't get me wrong, it does start off slow, but very quickly, within 5 minutes tops, you get a bow, your movement starts to accelerate like you wouldn't believe, and that is for me one of the big draws of this game, is its movement, but we will get onto that later. But before we move on further, let's see where this game came from and how it came to be developed. So the Pathless was developed by Giant Squid, as we mentioned previously, the creator of Abzu, that came out in 2016. And according to creative director Matt Nava, hope I haven't butchered that name, the Pathless is about, and I quote, finding your own way forward. Therefore the team decided to remove the minimap, which is, let's be honest, a staple in pretty much every game, especially open world. But what this does is phenomenal. It lets you explore, and this is what I liked most. It's a conscious effort to get the player to see a point of interest and go there, not check the map and see a question mark and feel obligated. It gives you the choice to go where you want. And the further effort that was stated that they wanted to remove any fast travel in the game, and this is a really good choice. You'll have people moan, oh no, there's no fast travel, how am I going to get from point A to B? Well, you know what you do? Instead of these other games where you travel across the map to do a side quest that leads you to collect some fish for an old woman, and so on and so on and so on, this game says, you know what, if you want to travel there, you use this incredible movement that we have given you and you go travel. It's as simple as that. There really is no more to it. Now, the game was initially announced at the Game Awards in 2018 and it was set to be released around about 2019, but ended up getting delayed to sort of early 2020 and then late 2020, mainly because, as the team stated, they just needed additional time to get the game finished, which, seeing how smooth this game runs, I'm glad they did, because this is, like I say, an absolute gem of a game. So quite frankly, what does this mean? I mean, I've blurted on about information for the past 2 minutes, but what does it actually mean? And as previously mentioned, all of this in conjunction doesn't just create a fluid open world game unlike anything I have honestly ever experienced. And don't get me wrong, it's not as dense and as action-packed as The Witcher, nor is it as open and free choice letting as something like Skyrim, but it is something new. And it is a new genre of open world, in the style, as I will keep going on about, as Abzu and Journey. These games, yes, they are open world, you can go anywhere, but maybe action wasn't the main focus, but here, they've put action straight out of a movie scene. With your wielding this bow, you're flying around this map, sliding, jumping, it's phenomenal. And how they did this was by removing, as I stated earlier, the minimap, removing the fast travel, removing these little bits, and quite frankly the HUD of the game itself is simply one bar. So on small bar, it's so unintrusive, it lets you see the world for what it is. And that is a brilliantly crafted, not overly populated, not underly populated, open world experience. And it clearly paid off, all of these features being removed and quite frankly simplifying the game made people mostly love it. In terms of reviews, Metacritic gave a 77 critic score and had an 8 user score, with users stating that it has, and I quote, rhythm that makes you look like you are creating magic, and the best indie game of the year. I completely agree. I couldn't agree more. The game makes you feel like you are this cloud floating along the environment, doing what you want to do, not what the game's telling you to do. Do you want to go over there? Go over there. Do you want to climb that little tower and do the objective? Then great, you go do that. But I spent a good hour of this game just running around. That's how much I enjoyed it. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't perfect. The game is not perfect. I would only give it an 8, an 8.5 out of 10. And users had similar issues. You know, some stated it's too expensive for a 4-hour game, because this game overall is only 4 to 6 hours long. That's if you do the main campaign with some side stuff. Maybe it gets pushed to 8 hours at a push if you try and do everything. But the game was still being priced at around about £50 in the UK, sort of £45-50, and that is way too much for an indie game that is this size. And that is my biggest criticism. I managed to get the game on sale for around about £15-20, which would be what, close to $30 in the US. So I got fairly lucky on that point, and I'm happy with that price. But initially I would not have spent that amount of money. People also had big issue with the fact that fast travel isn't in the game, which I find ridiculous. We don't need every game to have the same nuances, to have the same things, to have the same style and mini-map and exploration feel. You know, every open world game doesn't have to be The Witcher or Skyrim. And this company took a risk. Giant Squid took a risk, and it absolutely has paid off. And honestly, all the negativity aside, because there isn't that much, but what is there, what do I say? I say fuck it. Because quite frankly, if the worst thing you can say about the game is the fact it doesn't have fast travel, maybe you shouldn't have bought a game that you knew was going to be an open world experience. Simple as that. So I'm now, just before I hop onto anything else, I want to tell you a little bit about the story. So obvious spoilers ahead if you haven't played the game already. I'm going to go through fairly quickly, might take 5 minutes. If you want to skip, the option is there. I'll put a stamp on screen, or, you know, a chapter even, so just skip past it, no problem at all. So the aim of this game is basically, there's a curse that's threatening the world. And this is coming from an ancient island that's up in the sky, where the god spirits, otherwise known as the Tall Ones, live and reside. The Hunter, which is who you play, is a master archer that travels to the island to end the curse, and that is as simple as it is. It's a classic good guy, bad guy story, which, you know what, it doesn't need to be any more than that. And the majority of storytelling is told through little snippets of information you find on corpses or on tomes hidden around the world that you get to go up to and learn about the life of people. You might stumble across an old village that's all decayed, and you can read information about why it is like that and what happened. Some of them are little jokes. I came across a couple of corpses, and one of them had made a joke about the other, and it was just so heartwarming, and it really made me giggle. It was so nice to have a world that doesn't feel like it's overly populated, but feels like it's populated enough where it could be real, and that is what I like. Anyway, early on you basically get a mask that allows you to see the world's secrets, so you can see hidden passages, for example, and other little bits, which, as useful as it is, I thought it would have more use. But most of the use is to collect small crystals that ultimately let you upgrade minutely your bird, your eagle companion, which we'll talk about in just a second. Anyway, you go on to meet the eagle mother, which is, as you would imagine, an eagle, and I'm also guessing a mother. Blowing your mind, I already know. You also meet the big bad guy of the game, which for now I'm just going to call Mr. Red and Black, because that's his whole aesthetic, as you will see when you start playing. Anyway, he basically messes you up a little bit. Off he goes. Now you've got to free 4 evil children that are all animals of some kind. So there's a 4-headed dragon. There's, I don't know, probably something else with 4 heads at this point. I will say though, the designs of these animals are brilliant, really brilliant. Maybe, I can't remember off the top of my head what they all were, but that isn't a bad thing. That isn't me saying, oh no, they was forgetful. They wasn't. It was truly excellent to look at. So whoever is in charge of the design of some of these creatures, my hat's off to you, because you did an excellent job. Anyway, the quest goes on. You beat all 4 of these animals, return them to their normal selves, and get rid of the evil dark powers. At which point, when you've got enough, you can go up to the Sky Island and stop Mr. Red and Black. It's as simple as that. It's a classic, I would say, Disney story. You know, where there's a bad guy and you go through and you know what's going to happen, and yet you still enjoy the experience. And the way you actually defeat these monsters is essentially a puzzle in itself. So you have to collect and destroy 3 of these dark towers by collecting talismans scattered across the map by doing a variety of puzzles, which overall I thoroughly enjoyed. A couple got a little bit stale, a few fire puzzles here and there where you had to shoot arrows through fire overstayed their welcome a tad, but never enough to turn me off. It got to the cusp of me saying, I don't really know about this, and then it would throw something new my way, so it was enough to keep me entertained. But you destroy 3 towers, that allows you to go on a chase after an animal, and this is where the game is best for me. You chase these animals down and you shoot weak points, like we've seen in games for yonders now. But they do it in such a way that makes you feel like your movement really matters. So you take down these animals and then you go into an arena, and usually there's 2 or 3 stages. One of them stages all combat, one of them's usually all about dodging and timing stuff right, and then one's usually a stealthy puzzle section. And you know what, it does its job, and I really enjoyed it. It wasn't overly complicated, it wasn't underly complicated, it just was right in the middle, as I would call a Goldilocks boss, where it's just right. And you know what, after I defeated these monsters, returned them to their normal selves, went on to beat the final big bad guy, which again, maybe major spoilers here. Well, not maybe, there is major spoilers here. It's going to be images on screen, so again, if you want to look away now. But this final boss design goes from, that looks pretty cool, I guess, you know, with Mr. Red and Black over here with his red and black cape on. It goes from that to, oh my god, that is brilliant. The design is honestly like something out of God of War. It's so good. So you're fighting this final boss along with this bird that's been resurrected, and it's an epic fight. Brilliant. That's all I can say. And that is the story rounded up. If, after you finish the story, you have collected every talisman in game, there is a post-credit scene, which is basically the bird or the eagle returning to you and saving you. But you know, I'll be honest, I never got that far. I ended up cheating and Googling it. So, you know, say what you will about that. Anyway, let's talk about this eagle. So, this eagle, if I was to compare it to something, it would be like the shark out of Abzu. It would be like a companion walking around next to you in a Pokemon game. It's always there. The difference is this eagle is integral in your battle against these monsters and to complete these puzzles. Now, it's fairly simple in terms of its kit. It can help you fly long distances, and as you level up and kill things and get these little orange yellow gems, you'll be able to fly higher with it in terms of more flaps, as they call it in game. At some point you get a super high flap which sends you right up into the sky. It can also pick up and fetch various heavy weighted objects and so forth. I won't spoil it all, but it does a lot in this simple small eagle package, and I love it. Honestly, it was like going around the shark in Abzu. Like I said, it's always there. Maybe the shark in Abzu didn't have nearly as much to help you with, but it was always there, and you grow this attachment to it. And there's one point in the game where I genuinely felt like I was tearing up because your eagle gets taken from you, and I thought to myself for a minute that, oh my god, that's it, the eagle's gone. And at the end of the game, when you see it flying away from you, wow, it's just beautiful. This bond you have between you, a mainly silent protagonist, not 100% though, and this eagle that has never said a word to you in its current form. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful story and a beautiful time. You know, the story itself might not be 100%, the bond you get between this eagle is really 100%. And on a plus side, you get to pet it as well, which you can never really go wrong with. So this kind of leaves me with the final segment, and that is why more people aren't talking about this game. Don't get me wrong, I love indie games. I Google indie games, I watch hundreds of hours of videos on indie games a week. That's all I do. Every spare second, oh, what new indie games are coming out? What reviews have there been? How are people enjoying it? You know, I like to research into the background of developers, and this indie game, there's a certain community, don't get me wrong, of people that say, oh wow, it's really good, and it is, but for some reason it's not spoken about in the same light as Hades or Slay the Spire or Hollow Knight. It's not in that same realm, and I'm not sure why, because this is honestly one of the most beautiful games I have ever witnessed. Easily the best looking game of the past 5 years that I've seen, and that's obviously subjective, but for me and my palette and the art styles that I like, this is perfect in terms of the way it looks. The fact that they can get these yellow orange hues tinted with the green grass, and then the ominous pending doom that is the red ball that follows you, and if you get caught in it you have to do the stealth sequence, and all of these things honestly put together make a stunning experience. So I mean, if anything, if this game is on sale and you're looking at it and you're thinking, I don't know about, you know, the story's not too good, just get it, just so you can stand around and take screenshots. Honest to God, it really is that nice. But again, no one talks about it. If you look at Twitch numbers and Twitch viewers, which yes, isn't a, you know, definite how many people are playing or anything like that, it's not a 100% player base, but it gives you a kind of idea. But on Twitch, it's got like, what, 5,000 followers? It's got 0 viewers. I was the only person streaming this game. And I find that mad. Yeah, I get it, but you look at how many people are streaming Hades, but no one is streaming this. Yeah, maybe it's not as replayable, but my God, it deserves more than this, because it truly is a brilliant experience. But that is where we will leave it today. I hope you guys enjoy this new video type. A lot of effort has gone in, a lot of research, and I'm only bettering myself overall. With every new video, I'll be able to get better at collecting information. I'll be able to get better at finding things out, finding little interviews with developers here and there. I know it may seem a little bare bones now, and 100% of the information wasn't there, and maybe it wasn't structured that brilliantly, but I don't want to be like every other documentive series on YouTube or game reviewer, because that's not who I am. I don't want to do what everyone else is doing. I want to give a half and half of my impressions of my playthrough mixed with some history, and I love it. I love doing this. So, you know, as always, thank you guys for checking it out. Stay safe, I love you all, and I'll catch you next time.